Everyone, good morning. Welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Tex Homer, that's Eric Nalleen, and Coach Dub. And we're going to talk about the latest scrimmage notes from the Friday night practice. And then we're also going to cover superlatives, what we've learned halfway through spring. First, everyone head over to Inside Texas. Right now, you can join 50% off, and you'll also get on 3 for national football news and rivals for your recruiting side in the Ultimate Fan Bundle, link in the description. Also, something really cool going on right now. Before we get going, we're giving away a full Texas tailgate setup this weekend. We're talking Blackstone Grill, Yeti cooler, canopy, chairs, Yeti rumblers, the whole thing. So go to our Instagram. You can find the giveaway post, tag a friend, and you're entered. And we're going to announce the winner after the Texas and A&M baseball series this weekend. The link is in the description below. It's a lot of value.
Yeah, we gave that out last year. It was a lot of fun. They were excited.
I know. And there's no way to tilt it in my favor because unfortunately I work for the company. But it is what it is, I guess. All right, guys. We'll start off with quick notes here. The offense seemed to hold its own. And that's what we've seen through multiple notes, that offense had a good day, Eric.
Yeah, the offense did well. I mean, there's a couple turnovers. It's you're going to have some give and take. It's not, when we say the offense did well, we're not talking like they blasted the defense. We wouldn't even want to hear that anyways, especially with Arch out, right? Because then there's some concern. The defense did some good things. The offense did some good things. But I think overall, the offense is probably faring a little bit better than I thought. We're hearing a little bit about the running backs creating some room. The offensive line is doing a pretty good job, despite the fact that Trevor Gooseby is out and Lawrence Seymour isn't even there yet. So that's all encouraging. We're hearing good stuff about tight ends. Not just the guy that they, not just Michael Masunas, who they added out of the portal. So I would say overall things are pretty positive on offense. Has been a little bit quiet with any, wide receivers. We're hearing some plays. Obviously, the Cam Coleman play that went fairly viral last week was awesome. That you expect to see that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I would say I'm pleased with what we're hearing about the offense. I'm not sure that we would be hearing anything much better that would be realistic.
So this is the one. More great Derek Cooper news. So much that we're even like, I don't know, man. This sounds like a lot, but we've heard it consistently through practice repeatedly. But it seems like Cooper is still getting praise from sources.
Yeah, they can't stop trying to compare him with some legendary player, just one after another. It's like there's just a lot of excitement. The takeaway here is just everything we're hearing universally is good about him. There's some people start just because of how often he's mentioned. Some are wondering if he's going to get the first carries. I don't think that really matters much, but obviously it would say a lot about Derek Cooper overall if he got the first carries over, Raleek Brown, who we've heard a lot about as well, or Hollywood Smothers, who had a nice run. I don't expect that, but he's going to play a lot no matter what, because, we talked about this a few times. He adds a different element than anybody else, except maybe Michael Terry. Michael Terry has a very good blend of physicality and speed. But Derek Cooper is just a little bit different. You can see that athleticism on the football field. When he gets in the open field, he's just a horse galloping down the straightaway. He's just a different specimen. It sounds to me like he's ahead of where I expect him to be already.
Blake Bryan says, any offseason, we've heard a lot of talk about a freshman. It almost always means they're going to play a lot. We saw it with Littleton last offseason. We can go the year before. I'm sure we can lump Worthy into that.
Yeah.
So we keep hearing it so much that we're even like, this could be a little much. But
it's funny though. You hear about multiple freshmen this year though. It's like at a high level, a high clip, not just one. It's like multiple that's balling out. So they recruited right this year.
But they also changed their strategy. Like last year was all about like cutting young guys that weren't playing, that were making money. And so it makes sense this year that it's like, hey, if you're making money and you're young, we're going to play you. So it also seems like a shift there as well.
I think the last couple cycles, the elite guys have performed the way they want, with the exception of one player who's had some injury luck with Jonah Williams. Outside of that, Cade Phillips played how you would expect a stud true freshman to play. Lance Jackson, obviously. Nick Townsend showed those elements that we were all excited about. Justice Terry flashed. Unfortunately, he's missing spring. But it seems like they've done a really good job of hitting on the elite guys in the last few cycles. We're going to talk about Tyler Atkinson here in a minute, I imagine. they seem to hit on those elite players. Jermaine Bishop is another one that, even though on 3 rivals didn't rank him like an elite player, we covered him like an elite player the entire time at IT. I think they hit on the elite guys at a pretty high clip, and a lot of that is the guys have this talent that is so obvious you can't miss. But then you have, Cade Phillips had Stanford after him. Lance Jackson is about the most down-to-earth, humble, hardworking guys you'll ever see with his level of talent. They're hitting on the mental evals as well as the athletic profile for these guys is can't miss. But these guys become can't miss when they make bad decisions. They don't work hard. They're fighting the guys that work hard and make good decisions.
I was watching a video on Texas from Film Guy Network. Brooks does a great job over there, but he was saying that Lance Jackson reminded him of that Arkansas edge that had a similar name. I was like, yeah, his older brother.
Homework, buddy.
Hey, man, it's funny he says that, because everybody's like, Lance is, and nothing against Landon. Landon is a good player. I mean, Landon blew up the combine too. Yeah. Lance is just a different thing than his older brother. And Landon, was a heck of a prospect, but Lance is just different.
Yeah, when I watched his huddle and I was like, oh, we're going to get him, I was psyched. Per one source, the staff is fired up about this team. They are confident this is the best team they've assembled. And that's kind of in line with Lowe's article that On3 did last week, is like they're feeling really good about this squad, Eric.
Yeah, it's just the talent is obvious. The influx of talent that they brought in from the transfer portals becomes more obvious by the day. And then they addressed, I think, some maturity issues. Some of that just naturally smooths out over time. The offensive line is going to be much more experienced this year than last year, just by virtue of playing so much. But they added a lot of experience and not just talent. And then you can just look at the fact that they've got 4 guys that, it's hard to see any one of those 4 guys not going in the first round next year. Something bad would have to go wrong for any one of the obvious guys to not go in the first round. Then you got some other guys that could, maybe press into the late first, second round. But the talent is just, it's obvious, it's unmistakable, it's there. And then, they're seeing a lot of evidence of maturity and hard work. Somebody mentioned that about Cam Coleman recently. He doesn't get enough credit for his work ethic, his drive, and his route running, the little things. So it's a really, really good roster cycle. It was always going to be a good roster cycle. And then they made it even better with the additions, even beyond Cam Coleman.
And you mentioned that maturity. Then it was noticed in the scrimmage as well. We had some talent last year, but they were just too young. Cam Coleman got dinged, but walked it off and returned soon after. So all good there, right?
Yeah, we got a text in real time. That guy was a little bit worried, but yeah, it worked out. He was back out there. Nothing to worry about.
Our boy Mello. Thanks for the super chat. He names the date in which Texas will play Ohio State. We're going to find out how good you really are. Ohio State, you have to make me a believer. Hopefully we do, man. That's really the goal. But I'm not going to talk too much crap right now because y'all got the series.
This guy's got a Carmelo Anthony avatar and where's Jimmy Jackson? Or Jimmy Jackson went to Ohio State, right? I mean, if I was an Ohio State fan, first of all, I'm not sure I'd be giving Texas people money. So, hey, I do appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
I love your avatar and your team selection. I agree with, but I mean, Texas played like crap last year, only lost by 7. So who knows what we're going to learn in that game? But yeah, Texas has to win over everybody, not just Ohio State fans. They certainly got to, prove it to Georgia fans. Georgia definitely has Texas's number. But I just feel like as close as I cover this this program, it's just night and day different from the offseason last year. Sark is just so freaking dialed in, and he has been, since second half of that A&M game. I mean, all of January, all of December, he was on fire. One big decision after one bold move after another. So I think Sark is about as hungry as you could possibly be, and he's got the roster that can back up his motivation.
And all of his hires are intense guys like Gideon, Muschamp, Jalute. Like you can tell that he was trying to do some type of aggressive infusion.
Yeah, he had a plan. It's not like he was just cherry picking. Hey, this would fit one approach. This would fit another. He's got a bunch of guys that are all fit together. Like we said, what did we say recently? Last year it was only Nansen was the only guy yelling at the defense. This year you got Gideon and Muschamp, and now it's like Nansen's number 3. But yeah, it's I think that the players tend to adapt to the personality of their coaching, and we saw that Pete was a little passive, and then the defense wasn't very physical last year. We'd seen some physical defenses in the past, but I'm a believer in Muschamp. He had some media availabilities recently where I think it just looks like the same old Will Muschamp as we saw in 2008 to 2010.
Yeah. Said on a previous video about the 5-1 defense that I'd super chat because it was good content. Yeah, you guys run the penny front too. So yeah, whenever we cover that, go check it out from Saturday. But Georgia had looks in it. We're gonna have it. Ohio State runs it. Penny's becoming pretty common. It's on trend. So thank you, Mello.
I know he's early, but trending towards that game, they got some of the same reports about the same type of players that we do. They got a young explosive guy like Jermaine Bishop and Legend Bay. They got all their veteran transfers coming in making plays. Like there's similar like writings and timelines from what we're doing in spring and what they're doing.
Yep.
Week 2 is gonna be a matchup.
Yeah, for sure.
So okay. All right, Mel.
All right. Diabell looked good. Fitting throws into tight windows, stands tall and confident in the pocket, looks loose. That's what he looked like in high school, but you never know how it's going to look when you're up against college players. So we've kind of heard consistently, Eric, that he's confident and not nervous. He has that Arch play style.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Arch. I think he's got a pretty similar intangibles. His dad obviously had great mental makeup to be a professional athlete. Had a very strong mental mindset. I think Dia has that. Everything I hear about Dia is very encouraging. It's what we thought of in his mental profile coming out of high school, his high school ranking. We thought he was a 5-star, not just because of the obvious physical. I mean, you could see the guy, the passing talent, just doing drills on a field. He's like, it's uncanny how you can tell a difference between that and most quarterbacks. But then he's got the other stuff, the calm, the composure in the pocket already. Now, none of this is to say that I think he's going to be the backup this year. I still think at this point it's going to be KJ. And I think, Sark obviously is going to not name a backup until probably the week before the opener. KJ's doing very well. But, yeah, Dia's living up to the hype.
Yeah, it's more of a bright future note.
Yeah.
All right. Jermaine Bishop got looks at punt return. He won't replace Niblett, but maybe on kick return. Hey, it's good to have another guy getting reps there, but Niblett, I mean, he almost won us 3 games, so it's like I think that spot is easily locked down.
Definitely can push Niblett in that room, regardless how good Niblett did, man. And Bishop's a different cat. Can you go old school and put 2 returners in the back on punt return like they used to do?
Hey, imagine that with the reverse.
Yeah,
the threat of reverse. I think there's a chance we'll see Bishop on kick return. Punt return is going to be Niblett's. Somehow Niblett averaged more on punt return last year than kick return.
Yeah. So but it's just, don't mess with the Niblett formula. Unless Bishop's really like that, which we keep hearing too. But Smothers had a nice run that showed some speed.
Yeah, the person that sent me that message, he was really impressed with Smothers' speed, which isn't even that's not really his number one hallmark. He's kind of like not the biggest back, but still good between the tackles. Anybody remember how Warwick Dunn used to run it up in there, even though Warwick was on the smaller side? Smothers is bigger than Warwick, of course, but you wouldn't think it used to be Allstott. You would think it would be the only inside guy, and then Warwick Dunn's going to bounce everything. Warwick was awesome between the tackles with the Bucks and the Falcons. I think Smothers has some of that. It requires just really good feet in the hole, quickness, lateral agility, and then but showing good speed. We'll take that too.
Yeah. And he reads well. He's a disciplined runner.
Yes.
And then Spencer Shannon had multiple really good catches. Holy hands.
Hey,
Spencer Shannon, huh?
Showing up.
Yeah. I got told a few things about him. He had one play in particular where Rasheem Biles was all over him. The ball gets tipped up. Shannon still corrals it and picks up another 5 or 6 yards after the catch for a total of about 15 or so. It's his time, right? This is when he should start making plays. It was going to take time with him coming out of modern day, long ago. But I think nobody's benefited more from the getting stronger regimen of the offseason weight training than Shannon. And that's what it was always going to take. We kept pointing to it. He's got to get stronger. He's got to get stronger. Sounds to me like he's hitting his stride. Now he's still got Michael Masunas, which is good. It's a good problem to have. They've got 2 guys that they feel good about.
Yeah. But if he can be a legit receiving threat, because did he catch a pass last year? Maybe one. But to have that flexibility is awesome. And then Connor Robertson is super vocal. That's important. A, you're a center, so you better be super vocal. But B, you're an older guy on the line, so we need you to step up and take that role. Especially like losing Jake, who was like the mastermind of all that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, center was rough last year, at least until Connor came in and got a little bit better.
yeah.
Connor's doing a lot. Connor's, that a little experience goes a long way. Now he's been in the program forever. Was one of the earliest commits of the Sark era. He's been in the program a long time, but until you're out there on the field and you're actually doing it, it's just not the same level of experience. Well, I think a little bit goes a long way. You had a handful of starts last year. He probably got like 6 or 7 starts last year. And then, moving Cole Hudson to guard, that's when the line started to play a lot better together. So, I think he's going to be pretty good this year. I don't foresee him being an NFL guy or anything, but
right.
Reliable and steady is really what you need there.
All right, before we keep going, let's hear a word from Academy.
Oh, it's an auto worm bite, turns out.
Giant. Oh, a giant.
It's a giant, so.
It's a giant! Oh, it's a giant! It's a giant!
All right, next up, Bo Masco continues to make noise. Ain't that the truth? The staff loves that pickup. Yeah, I remember it kind of got talked about as a depth piece, just like in broader Texas fandom. And then I watched this tape versus Penn State, and I was like, they got him manned up the entire time, man.
Yep.
So that's when I was like, oh, no. This is either like an awesome corner 3 or he's going to start. And it sounds like that's what we're hearing, Eric.
He's going to start somewhere. Corner is probably a little more likely, but he can also start at nickel. I got one person thinks he's the best corner and the best nickel. And that's saying something. Experience matters. Again, experience matters. Grayson Littleton's awesome. We all know that. Cade Phillips is awesome. We all know that. But they're still, Grayson's, I can say Grayson's fairly experienced at this point. Cade got a little bit of valuable experience later in the season. But, Masco's a 2-year starter and, still has 2 years of eligibility. This might be his only year, though. He sounds like the real deal. He's probably got the most consistent chatter of anybody right now. It seems like we mention him every week, every update, him and Cooper.
Yeah, and in the player eval, they said something that he has the strongest technique or something along that too. So it's not just traits, like he's the most skilled.
Yeah, he's getting his hands on the football, which again that goes back to experience because your head's not swimming. You can start looking for the ball. He got compared to Pons over there at Indiana, so we would take that all day long. Yeah. Hey man, I'm excited to see the guy play.
I don't know if you can give a newcomer number 7, but hey, maybe goes to win the story. I call him the Jahdae Barron of the secondary so far. Like he plays like that, always around the football, making plays, corner or nickel. Like that's a special type of DB that we need.
Yeah, that one, that pickup went a little under the radar because it came from Rutgers, and there's fans like they're not splashed. They all want the Alabama guy or whatever, even though Texas Alabama commits have not gone well at all. Yeah. They look at guys you get from Purdue or Rutgers, and they don't get excited just because of the school. Man, those schools produce guys to the NFL all the dang time.
Yeah, and their 1 or 2 top players are always going to be good. Maybe just not top to bottom, they're elite, but it's like they're going to have a few good players and they get poked.
Yeah, look at Purdue for an example, right? Tienneman's going to go. How do you even say his name? I don't know how you say his name, but it's Tienneman went from Purdue to Oregon. He's going in the first round. The tight end that went to Ohio State is going to go in the Max Claro is going to go 3rd or 4th round. And then we had Cole Brevard, all from Purdue, all from that same Purdue portal class. There's ballers everywhere.
For sure. Tyler Atkinson was unleashed on some blitzes tonight. All right, letting the young guy use his athleticism, huh?
Yeah, this is where obviously if he's doing great, there's going to be a little concern. He was untouched on a couple of blitzes, so they're going to have to figure that out. I don't know. The miscue was on the O-line, running back. I'm not sure on that. But, yeah, he was making plays in the backfield. On one play in particular, though, he couldn't quite convert it. And Dia Bell turned what should have been a 7-yard loss into a 5-yard gain on a quick pass. But, yeah, Atkinson, that's probably the most active we'd heard about him in a practice so far, dialing up his number. And that's probably what we're going to see this year is they're just going to call him on blitzes and not make him read and react as much as just react to the call, just go fulfill the call, kind of like what we saw with Anthony Hill early in his career.
Yeah, point and shoot. All right. This is the one you were talking about with Shannon had a highlight reel play. Atkinson got untouched again. And then at one point there were 2 false starts in very close proximity.
Oh,
yeah, just the whole here we go again. But then I didn't hear about false starts for a while. So
I told Eric, I was like, at this point, we're practicing false starts, not solving them. Like that. So it's like that's where I think it's a bug in the system. There's got to be something with splits, late reactions to the trying to time that receiver perfectly when he gets across your shoulder. There's so many variables here, but there's something technically in the system that is producing this.
Told you we still
I get a Nobel Prize if I could figure it out, but it's something in the minutia of this that's causing this.
We convert third and long better than any team in the country for some reason, man. So maybe, I don't know. At this point, it's just who we are.
Yeah, it's just kind of is what it is. Cam Coleman fades make up for it. Niblett had a good shifty 20-yard run. Yeah, I'm curious about him at back, what he can do, because it was kind of weird last year.
Well, they didn't use him a ton, which they tried to, and then they never really leaned into it. They were trying to get more dynamic because Trey Wisner and Baxter weren't very dynamic. And I don't really think they ever really had a plan. He wasn't as complete as he is now as a running back. They're trying to use him as a real running back, but also keep those same sort of secondary gadget elements as too. Like when you 2 running back sets and you be more of a receiver or a guy that does reverses, stuff like that. So they're trying to integrate them more into 1 back sets. Sounds like they're doing a lot of that, but I'm trying to figure out how the carries are going to be dispersed this year because they've got 6 guys that can run it. Michael Terry had a good play too. Joe Cook reported in another intel piece that they threw the ball a little bit more than they ran it. So it sounds like we heard about some good running, even though they were focusing more on the passing game. And maybe there's a reason for that.
Diamond formation could make a return, boys. So opening drive, Sark creates weird concepts. Put 9 running backs in.
Well, put Nick Townsend as one of those backs.
That's true. Yeah, I would love fullback, or you can also leak them out of there. Arogbo, really nice stuff at the line. Didn't expect to hear of a run play with him because he has what I noticed was his get off, but nice to hear about Arogbo.
Arogbo's got really long arms, and that aids you as much in the run against, maybe even more against the run than it does in the pass game. So he can play with really good leverage, and he plays a lot stronger than you would think. Think about a ladder that's at the perfect angle. It can sustain a lot of weight. When you've got long levers like that, you can play bigger than your weight.
I was at my family's Easter, or my in-laws' Easter, and they were doing a piñata, and I noticed that exact that ladder. It was not stable. It was at this angle, and this is how they climbed up the roof. Everyone ended up safe.
No, if you got the ladder too straight, it's going to fall back. If you got
it worked, but the whole time I had an eye on it. But
get the ladder to the right, and it can hold a lot, though.
Yeah, exactly. The legend himself, Lance Jackson, blew up the right side and forced a throwaway. He looks like $1 million. He actually looks about like $20 million.
Yeah.
Whatever the slot allocation is for number 4 overall.
Yeah, and then we got Spedic. Okay, we're finally hearing field goals here. All right, boys, this is good. How was his performance, man?
Yeah, he drilled one. I think it said 48, but it would have been good from close to 60. He's been really accurate from what I hear. We just started to hear more and more about him, but strong leg, accurate, and just real natural looking. That's what I was told. All the kickers almost look the same to me, but I heard the word natural for him, so we'll take that. But clearly confident, experienced, all that. Sounds like at least they've got a Mason Shipley level dude.
Yeah.
You never really know, but you never really know. Kickers are so, like we saw with Bert Auburn. Bert Auburn was good until he wasn't.
Yeah, that one was a weird one particularly. All right. And then Blake Bryant says 2 back sets have been Sark's most efficient personnel package since he's been in Texas. He doesn't use it much, but it's really effective when he does. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. The more you use it, the less it'll probably lose its effectiveness. That's
But he has the guys to do it, and he has multiple different pairings to get different.
Oh, yeah. Look at all the pairings he can put out there. I mean, you could put Niblett and Michael Terry out there, and your receiving ability is really, really strong, but you can still run Terry up the gut. I mean, there's so many different ways to mix and match 2 back sets. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Another guy, well, two other guys we hear a lot about in the secondary. Cade Phillips got a pick, but I don't know who the QB was. Doesn't matter. Good job, Cade. We're proud of you. And then Samari Matthews got a pick as well. He did dirty. Cam had to go up and talk to God, and then they had to take the perfect picture. But we keep hearing great things about him as well. Young guy.
Yeah, I see on Twitter, because I posted a couple things about Samari. People are, oh, he's going to be great this season. No, I don't know if he's going to be great this season. He's got a log jam in front of him. Like, he's not, I'm not saying he's better than Warren Roberson right now. Certainly he's had more picks, but there's a log jam at corner. But he sounds like he's going to be dang good. And curious to see, a lot of those guys are going to have to go make a name for themselves on special teams first. But Samari looks like another hit from the evaluation side of it. If Cade got the pick, I'm thinking it was either I think it was probably Dia. If Cade got it, it was either Dia or KJ.
Well, yeah.
Cade, well, could have been MJ Morris. But yeah, Cade's doing really well. The corner is a very strong position.
Yeah. Shout out to Mark Orfe, man. I don't know. He got a great eye for talent and development.
Yeah, well, look, he walked into a really good room, and then look what he added to it. He added Masco, who he coached at Rutgers, and he added this year's Samari. I've heard some decent things about Hayward Howard too. Just that's just gonna have to be a guy that waits his turn. But yeah, he entered a good room, but he's only made it better.
And then Bell scrambled out of a pocket for 20 yards. All right, and then to wrap it all up in a nice bow, as we started, one source thinks the offense got the better of the defense, but it was close. I think too. I mean, you're installing a new defense.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Getting some messages here.
So
that's exactly what it is. It's just you're catching the defense in an install, and you've got a lot of these players on offense have been in the same. It's been the same system the whole time. So even though and Dia's not your typical freshman quarterback, KJ's been in the system, so he knows it. Many of the receivers know it. Many of the offensive linemen know it. So it's a little bit of advantage to the offense while the defense is ironing out some kinks. But I will tell you this: every time the defense has struggles with one aspect, like they did red zone for the first scrimmage, they get a lot better pretty quick. Muschamp is gonna hammer those points and figure them out. I like what Joe reported about Arch Manning doing some work in 7-on-7 and Muschamp running over to him and saying, "Hey, what are you seeing here that you're carving this up so good?"
Yeah.
So that's. I'm not worried about the defense. There's just too much talent. There's just too much, maybe they could overload them mentally, and that would be one concern. But you can always dial that back pretty quick. So I'm not worried about Muschamp and his defense.
Another thing from Joe, Sark was doing surgical offense. So he was throwing sits and little things where people weren't. And that's been my biggest critique is it doesn't seem like we take advantage of short, basic college football spread. Just he's not here, throw it here. And then from what we heard, Sark was attacking in that exact way. And I think Arch is really good there. And I think it's just hard to stop at the college level. So if we get to the point where we are still obsessed with the Cam Coleman deep ball, but also we take what they give, I think it can be a really, really scary offense. So that was one of the notes that I was most excited to hear is that we were just going a little bit of old school spread passing around, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's good because most of our receivers don't sit still in the window. They want to get them on the move and keep them running. So that's the big change from the last couple of years as far as receiver.
Yeah, and those guys are explosive too. Give them the sit and then see what they can do. You see what Jermaine Bishop can do after you get the ball to him.
Yeah, he's different. All
right, we're gonna hit some superlatives here next, and we're gonna kind of recap the first half of spring. But before we do that, let's hear a word from Andre.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results. Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
Thank you so much, Andre. All right. We're going to go quick.
What am I doing up here, man?
Oh,
Get a
sorry,
nosebleed
dude.
way, I'm gonna get a nosebleed way up
Sorry.
here.
Yeah, I got to pull rank. I got to get to the top left. All right, so I got a lot of these boys. So just really
got to think quick on our feet.
I was
huh?
going to say
All
what
right.
comes to your mind, and then we won't legally hold you to any of these, but that way we can get through them. So, like I said, these are not set in stone. We're going to start with the offensive side of the ball. Offensive MVP so far.
I mean, it's probably starting. It's probably the current starting quarterback. It's probably KJ or Raleek Brown, maybe, or Derek Cooper.
Yeah, or Jermaine Bishop. I mean, I don't know where you got a lot to choose from. I go
KJ,
great start, guys. Great start.
KJ's been consistently good. Yeah, he's throwing a pick here and there. I hear KJ's better than Diabell right now, even though we're talking really highly of Diabell. Diabell, again, that's file that away. Diabell's going to be your number 3. KJ Lacey's going to be your Malik Murphy sort of guy. That's the backup. All right. KJ's better than Malik based on what we've heard. But KJ is going to be the guy. Dia's got to wait number 3 like Arch did. So honestly, it's probably KJ. It's on tape, graded to what you're supposed to be doing. It's probably a guy like Cam Coleman. We're just not hearing as much about it as far as making plays.
Most improved offensive player.
That's Spencer Shannon.
I would have went Jordan Coleman, but hey, I mean, that's a good one with Spencer too.
All
Yeah,
right.
Coleman's a good one as well. I love what Sark said about him last week. Sark said, "Whoa," when he does it right. Sark doesn't normally say "whoa." Yeah, Jordan Coleman. We liked his traits. Charlie and I were both pretty high on them, especially compared to the rankings. Both Colemans. Jordan's a good one, but I go Spencer because I think Spencer's evolved into a more reliable player for this year, whereas Coleman, it's still going to be a year away.
We have 2 categories here. Best newcomer freshman.
Cooper.
Yeah. If he goes Cooper, I got to go. I go Bishop just because, I mean, that's hard.
Best newcomer transfer. This one's got to be easy.
That's cool. That's Cam.
Most reliable target.
Probably Dalen McCutcheon right now, I would say.
Okay. Biggest mismatch creator.
Biggest
Cam.
mismatch creator. I mean, that's Cam. Come on.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Best in the red zone.
That's Cam.
Arch comes back.
Yeah, if he's not open on the ground, he's open above it.
Yeah.
So, it could end up being a guy like it just depends schematically. It could end up being whatever tight end they want to make the mismatch down there. Especially they love 12 personnel down there.
Most explosive player. Cam Coleman.
Well, I would probably go Bishop on that.
Okay.
That's fair.
You agree with that, Coach? All right.
Yeah, I go Bishop with most explosive.
Most important player to Sark's system. You can't say quarterbacks.
Well, he would say tight end. It's the same thing that Tom Herman would always say. Say it's a tight end because they can, it helps them go between 11 and 12, and then that helps them do so many other things.
Best position battle.
Best position battle on offense. Man, they got so many guys out on both sides of the ball. It's kind of killing competition.
I think running back, right? Like just because there's so many, like there's a top 3, and you're like, what?
Yeah, it's probably the best position battle is probably between Raleek and Hollywood. I think Derek is going to end up being number 2. Then you'll have maybe a third down back. Yeah, you could see Hollywood be like the first, second down lead back, and then Derek Cooper first and second back, and then Raleek Brown is your third down back.
And then most concerning offensive trend.
Come on, that's penalties. Pre-snap penalties.
Pre-snap.
We could also say instead of most concerning, most long-standing.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the defense. Similar but flipped. Defensive MVP so far.
Colin Simmons.
Yeah, it's Colin.
I almost when I got these, I almost had to exclude players, so it wasn't.
Yeah, well,
so
Colin
after Colin, we can say
Colin really is doing it though. Colin is doing it in practice, and it's not just sometimes sometimes the superstars have quiet springs. They're on a pitch count. They're not used as much. The coaches already know what they can do, so they don't play. But that's not Colin is really wrecking dudes.
Okay, now I've removed Colin Simmons from the pool. Who?
Okay.
who's next?
And all right, that would be Bo Masco.
Yeah, Bo.
Cool. And then best coverage player.
Bo.
Yeah.
Let me guess here. Best pass rusher.
Colin, but
After.
if we're taking
Lance?
Colin out, probably go Lance.
Yep.
All right. Most improved defender.
Most improved. See, a lot of these guys because Phil Simi would have been a great candidate, but he's been out, and then now he's partial participant. Smith Orogbo, maybe.
Best newcomer. I don't know if we want to do freshman here, but maybe best newcomer, young guy, not a previous starter, that kind of thing. We'll do transfer next.
I would go Samari then with that case. Best young guy.
Best young guy. Yeah, Samari's making so much noise. You could say Atkinson there. You could even put Rocky Cummings might even be in the top 3 of that. Are we talking true freshman or?
Yeah, but yeah, we can talk true freshman, but really I just mean like young, like could be they could be in second year, but they just haven't played, that kind of thing. I'm really loose with my rules here.
Yeah, I'll go Tyler Atkinson, but Samari's a good one too.
Best newcomer transfer.
It's Bo.
Bo.
Bo knows.
Bo, but Rasheem Biles is doing well too.
Yeah, I'm excited about him. Most versatile.
Well, I mean, you've got just overall, it's Masco or Littleton. Yeah, both those guys could play corner and nickel at a very high level.
I always wonder too is it in the linebacker room or the safety room, because they're mixed between the run support and pass.
If he played multiple positions, you can go McDonald, but I think he's stuck at safety. So
most concerning our best position battle on defense.
Corners, just overall corner. We haven't mentioned Kobe Black this video. We briefly mentioned Warren Roberson. Both those guys are going to play a lot. It's corner. They've got, we talked about, they've got 6 guys who can carry it at running back. They've got 6 guys who are credible starters at corner.
Got a unique question here. Can you guys confirm this is the first time there isn't a Texas high school football scholarship guy quarterback on the roster in decades?
In decades, I mean, it's probably.
it's got to
right.
be. Yeah,
I have no.
Decades would have been more Texas. It might have been all Texas.
I'm not. It might be the fact that I'm originally from California, but I don't have this nativism about there has to be Texas guys on the roster. I just want Texas to win.
Well, when you say the Texas Pledge of Allegiance every morning after, does California do that? Do other states do their own Pledge of Allegiance?
The state Pledge of Allegiance? No.
We have our own, so I think that's why it gets baked in there. But it is unique, right? Question. Yeah, I never really thought about it, but yeah.
Sark hasn't really targeted a ton of. Trey Owens would have been on the roster, but they went in a different direction as far as what they were looking for. And they got Ty Knutson is coming in on the in the next class. So, but credit to Sark, just go get the best guy for your team, right? Go make Arch Manning a Texan and go make Diabella a Texan.
Yeah. Most concerning defensive trend.
Most concerning, probably just the fact that the offense is moving the ball as well as it has, but it's just it's install, and then the fact they do have a lot of talented individual talents. Even though you're missing the starting quarterback, you got guys like. Raleek Brown can make anybody look silly out in the flat. Derek Cooper's an awesome force. Cam Coleman, Samari Matthews can have tremendous coverage, and Cam Coleman can go up and make a play that very few guys can make. So it's probably that the defense is just giving up too much production to the offense, but it's understandable.
Yeah, I would say Joe reported something about they were having issues about the Rip and Liz calls, getting it right. Who has the weak side? Who has the strong side? Sometimes it doesn't contribute to those long busted runs. So just kind of figuring things out, working out the kinks on defense.
Yeah. Bring up that second one or that other one from Antoine.
Watching Russell and Henderson and seeing how they pan out as Texas didn't push for them.
Well, Texas did push for Keelan. Maybe they were a little late, but it wasn't likely that Russell was gonna come sit. Look, Alabama basically pushed out Ty Simpson for for Russell. Texas was not going to be pushing out Arch Manning for Keelan Russell. Keyshawn Henderson, it's. I thought Keyshawn was probably attributed as a athlete early on, and a lot of schools bought into that. The U of H didn't and reaped the rewards. But yeah, I think Keyshawn is probably going to want to come in and start right away too. Keyshawn's the one I'll be watching though, because that timeline might have fit, and he did like Texas a whole lot.
It's also just the reality of being in the state of Texas. Like, there's going to be quarterbacks naturally that you're just going to miss on because you can only take so many per class. Yeah,
there were a lot of people that are upset that Texas didn't push for Lagway, and that looked like probably a mistake after his true freshman year. And you got to give it time to work out.
It's the history of Texas.
I'm just not worried about starting quarterback at Texas. It's just it's going to work itself out with Sark.
You can name 20. You're just like 20 Texas quarterbacks. So like, why didn't they push? It's just Texas has a lot of quarterbacks.
Well, there's also a history of it. Going back to Drew Brees and Andrew Luck and the guys that Texas should have. So I understand why they're concerned about it, but the time, like, you have to apply context to every situation. Every situation is different.
All right, before we go overall, we're going to talk some scheme and identity here. Biggest scheme shift. It can be offense, it can be defense. I'm sure defense is a whole new scheme's a pretty big shift, but
it seems like the coverages are probably the biggest shift. But this past week we heard about a lot of cover one. Man, we didn't see that last year. Yeah. It seems to me like they had a plan going into that scrimmage to test their man coverage, and that's why Sark ran an offense that we hadn't heard a whole lot about. It's like, Muschamp might have been, hey, I want to see where my guys are at. Give us some looks. I think that was part of the plan. I think that's indicative of what the defense is going to do, probably less indicative of what the offense is going to do. But the biggest changes on scheme to me are the coverages.
Most noticeable philosophical change. So something more wide. And to me, it's just like aggression.
I would say aggression has to be it.
Yeah, it has to
be. And the things that it's all tied to, lifting heavier, which we heard about. That was, my favorite note. When I found that out in January, I was, screaming from the mountaintops that it was signaling, changes.
Yeah. And these ones can be kind of tricky because we're still halfway through spring. But if we know them, most used concept on offense or style, are we running a certain run play more? Are we going for deep passing? Do we know that yet?
Well, they're running more wide zone than they had last year. Yep. I think the offensive line sets up well for that. 12 personnel and 11 personnel. This last scrimmage was a lot of 11 personnel, but we probably heard more 12 personnel coming into that scrimmage. It's been about 50-50. We know they like 12 personnel down around the goal line. It's a multiple offense.
Similar thing for defense. Most use coverage / front, so it can be these kind of man match principles and different looks, right? And then
cover four is their most common.
Yeah. And then are we seeing more 4 down, 3 down? Do we know?
That has been a mix, 50-50 mix. Then they're mixing in some cover 3 as well. And then we also just talked about cover 1. So they're mixing stuff up, but cover 4 would be the base.
Yeah.
Best adjustment from last season's weakness, I would say, trying to contest on defense more, not giving them space as much.
If we're talking whole team, I would say making sure that you can run 12 personnel would be the biggest.
I'm surprised I didn't say that. That sounds like me.
Tight end and everything.
Yeah, to me, there's a lot more credibility to them going 12 personnel this year than last year. There's just a lot more.
All right, now we got some fun ones for the fan. Under the radar contributor.
Let me see here. Under the radar. Well,
Michael Terry if he gets a shot.
I still don't think they're high enough on Dalen McCutcheon. Just, I have not been able to get fans on my side on that guy's talent yet.
He's got to do it on the field. That's when.
Yeah, it's gonna. And then always knew he was gonna be good. Oh yeah, he did have the sun in his eyes in the Citrus Bowl. It's him on defense, and then maybe Jordan Johnson-Rebel on McCutcheon on offense and Jordan Johnson-Rebel on defense. He had a good scrimmage too. I don't even think I mentioned that. He's just where he's supposed to be. Coaches love that reliability. So I think Jordan Johnson-Rebel is going to play rotational snaps this year. Obviously not starter snaps, but I think they're going to get back to rotating safeties like they did, in 2022, 23, 24, or 20. They didn't so much in 22. Who was back there? It was Anthony Cook and who else?
Is that Thompson? No, yeah,
It might have been Jaron Thompson. Yeah, it was probably Jaron. And then 2023, they really started rotating. 2024, last year they got away from it. Akina's gone. I think we'll see Xavier Filsaime rotate behind McDonald probably, and then now Jameson stayed at corner until he got taken over by Terrence Brooks, which I think there's politics. And then Jordan Johnson-Rebel probably behind Derek Williams, but they haven't really done boundaries field yet that I know of, so we'll see. But yeah, I think the top 4 safeties are going to play. And then Jonah's got to get healthy because they got to get that guy on the field.
A young safety, I guess you wrote about him a few times, Eric, has been mentioned, is Jonathan Cunningham. And for some reason, he's making plays back there. I know he was a tweener between linebacker and safety, but he seems to be making plays at safety consistently this spring. So I want to see where he ends up.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up becoming a fan favorite on special teams, and then they're going to be pining for him once the depth chart thins a little bit at safety. But yeah, they like Cunningham.
This is another. It's kind of similar, but player fans are sleeping on.
They're always telling us who everybody else is sleeping on. Now we get a chance to
tell them who they're sleeping on. Well, it's similar to under the radar, but maybe it could be a fan or a player that doesn't have like a great connotation right now, like Spencer Shannon, right? If he goes out and shows,
I'll stick at tight end, but I'll go with Emery Winston just because it's a good receiver, and fans aren't going to notice blocking, but they'll notice that Emery Winston's wide open in the corner of the end zone. They're running 13 personnel, he's got the ability to make some of those Jatavian Sanders catch. Remember that Jatavian Sanders catch he made? I don't know how the ball got to him. It might have been against OU. He's running down the seam and the ball just magically appeared in his hands. There was no room. Like Emery can do that stuff.
Ooh, that's a good one.
All right. The injury that matters most in spring. So we got Gooseby out, Arch out, Ty Anthony Smith out.
The Gooseby thing might be a silver lining because we are hearing more about Jordan Coleman. And you want those guys developing depth. Sark in that Chris Lowe interview mentioned that he's pretty high on offensive line depth. Well, he's gotten a good look at the O-line depth, and they've been able to develop it with the guys that have been out.
Mine's definitely Ty Anthony Smith because I have questions about the linebacker room right now, and I want that to be as clear as possible.
I think that's the best one. Another one is Emmett Mosley, just because he keeps missing time, and I want to see how they're going to use that slot receiver. Dalen and Emmett are pretty dang different.
Those are solid. Leaders of the team, you can't choose Arch.
Well,
no.
You
Leader.
choose Colin either, right?
So you can't cheat. You can't cheat and name 7 players here. You have to pick leader of the team. It can be offense or defense, and it can't be Arch. And you have to pick one. Even though that's not really how it works, but we're playing.
Well, okay, it's not really how it works.
Yeah.
Probably Hero Canoe.
Oh,
I like Hero.
Now Colin's on his way, but here's what I was thinking about this morning. Ironically, what if the scheme? I mean, Colin's sitting there at 8 sacks in like late November. Is he going to be okay with that? I don't know. But if you're a leader and the defense is doing well, you've got to be okay with it from a team leadership standpoint, right? Like hey, the defense is top 5 in the nation, and because I'm getting occupied by 3 guys here, old boy over here's got 6 sacks of his own. I don't know. But I'll go Hero Canoe. Hero Canoe's just got
well, you're also an idiot scout. If you had this year's tape, you're going to see that if you're just looking at sack numbers, not evaluating scheme and what they're being asked to do.
Yeah, but I think it's not apples to apples, but I think scouts are missing on Anthony Hill for that reason too. Like even if he's the situational rush ability. Because it wasn't as evident this past year as it was his first 2 years, But I don't know how Anthony Hill gets out of the first round because of that ability to get after the pass rusher. But yeah, it's Georgia players weren't dinged for playing in that scheme. But that's not to say. I mean, I think Muschamp is going to have these guys in a 4-man front more often than not. And even if they're in a 3-man front, that there's nothing to say that Colin Simmons doesn't move to linebacker just to do some Colin Simmons things.
Colin Simmons behaviors.
Yeah.
All right. Looking forward a little bit. Position that must improve the most by fall camp.
I think you said it. I would say linebackers just because you want to see. I mean, you want those guys to get up to speed. Because
Jude Cryer, that's the guy that Justin Cryer might be a guy in the don't sleep on. I want to see it because it wasn't a head turning acquisition. I like the pickup for what the room needed, but it sounds like he's going to play a ton. So it's that's.
I think he could be situationally really effective. Like if it's downhill, meeting a guard, those kind of things, I feel really good about.
Yeah, I'm still going to go offensive line.
Okay.
Because they're still going to need cohesion, and you're adding new bodies. The fact that we haven't really heard anything negative about Jaden Chapman or Brandon Baker is super. That's really encouraging.
One thing that could derail this team, take away injuries and acts of God.
Oh man,
person with the headset.
Yeah, it could just be in-game management, or I'll never forget, Sark's kneeling looking at his laminate, and they're onside kicking against Georgia, or Georgia's onside kicking against Texas. It could be one coach makes a better call in the crunch time.
One thing that would unlock this team.
More time.
Great special teams play on kickoff, covering the make sure we're aware of onside kicks. Don't get beat on special teams.
I think just time to find everybody's role and what they can do, and the best way to all fit. Because you can have, in September you can say, "Oh, this is a good play," but by October you'll know that there was a better play available. You're just going to have a better understanding of your personnel, your matches, your best schematic preferences. This 12 personnel works here, but not here. It's gonna take some time. They've got so many weapons. Stuff's gonna work out, but you don't know if you're calling your second best option or your first best option early on in the season.
Yeah. And then we've gone through offense and defense, but now we can rank kind of overall, and these be quick. And a lot of your answers you've already had. Number 1, team wide, most improved unit.
Running back.
Yeah,
I agree. Most concerning unit. And it might not even have to be play. It could just be I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, it's either linebacker or offensive line. I see. I've got a little more trust in Muschamp than I do in Flood. So there's a counterweight between O-line and linebacker, but probably O-line just because it's more important, and they can't lean on the D-line in front of them like the linebackers can, or the safeties behind them. The linebackers are much more insulated from average play than the offensive line is.
Most consistent group.
Shoot, man, probably the running back. It might be the D-line. They're setting up everybody else.
I've barely heard about them, which means they're doing their job.
Doing their job, the dirty work.
And we are hearing about the linebackers, so that's good, right? That means that's another sign the D-line is doing steady work.
Yeah. Highest ceiling unit.
Wide receiver.
Ooh.
Outside of Arch. I mean, we haven't, you're going to have a Wingo, you're going to have Coleman, obviously. It's going to be a lot different for these teams in games where they have to worry about the run, Arch running, and then, they can't double Coleman and Wingo. I still think we're going to see Bishop out there at times with Coleman and Wingo. So highest upside, it's to me it's wide receiver, because you've got 3 guys. Coleman can go top 10. Wingo, if he comes back for a 4th year, could go in the first round. And then Jermaine Bishop, we know the sky's the limit there. And then there's plenty of depth and talent behind him.
Edge is another one, but also it's the schematic play, right?
Yeah, where Sark is going to lean into the receiver, big play with the receivers, especially if the run game's going. You don't know what Muschamp's going to do necessarily.
Most game ready unit right now.
That's probably Edges.
Yeah. Biggest question mark heading into summer.
Biggest question mark heading into summer.
I think it's offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably still gonna have some schematic questions. What are they? Yeah, it's O-line's the safest one, that's for sure. It's definitely there's gonna be a lot of intrigue about offensive line in August, because it's how do they look with Gooseby back and Seymour. Seymour's gonna have some. I think Seymour's gonna have some competition. So
most physical unit. DTs, right?
Well, yeah, because they can deliver on it. But man, the linebackers are very physical, and Ty Anthony's physical. They're not the biggest guys on earth, But like as far as that's probably not the guy I'd want in a fist fight. It might be the linebackers. They're wiry. They're wired to be linebackers. They'll strike you. They're stronger than they look. I don't know. I'd probably go linebacker if you did it based on relative to size.
Pound for pound.
Yeah, pound for pound.
Right. Fastest unit on the field.
Fastest go. That's probably corner.
Corner, yeah.
Warren can run. We're hearing good things about Bo. Bo times well. Man, who did we hear that was running 22?
I can't remember.
No, 22 miles an hour is fast, man.
Yeah, Cohen hit it right, but he was on offense.
Cade is fast. We know Cade is fast. We know Warren is fast. We know Littleton can run. Littleton was like a 10-7 guy in high school.
Yeah,
it's got to be
all those kick returns in high school too.
Yeah, it's got to be corner.
Best depth unit.
Corner or running back or edge.
I was going to say edge. Yeah, I'm good with all of those. And then thinnest position group.
Thinnest position group?
The linebacker group, maybe? True linebackers? Yeah.
I would say just by numbers, right? Like linebacker, we had like one guy. We did some transfer stuff, but I would say numbers-wise and then just like full understanding of that group and everyone's strength, I would probably say linebacker.
Yeah, but we probably don't talk about Brad Spence enough at linebacker.
Yeah,
I need to check in on him and see what's going on there.
See how they're using him because there's linebacker stuff that I think would be cool, but I don't know if he ends up being a Sam, kind of the Trey Moore or what. But
he's definitely Sam, but he also plays Mike.
That's the one I wanted to hear about if he does work on Mike. So, all right. Well, that was fun, guys. I know those are tough to think up on the spot, but I appreciate it. Academy's doing something real cool, guys. Tailgate giveaway, Blackstone Grill, Yeti cooler, canopy chairs, rumblers, the whole thing. Go to our Instagram. That is where you can sign up. You can find the giveaway post. It's in the link below as well in the description. Tag a friend, and you are entered. And then we're going to pick the winner after Texas and A&M baseball series this weekend. Thank you, Academy. This is a real cool thing. Also, head over to Inside Texas, spring sale 50% off. You'll get our board, On 3, and Rivals all together in the Ultimate Fan Bundle. The link is also below. Everyone have a great Monday, and this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. See you later.